Any other questions? Mindy, you had one.
Oh, with the liberator.
Okay, the letters from the abolitionists.
It was just hard reading it. I couldn't stay
Okay.
concentrated.
What in particular was hard about reading it? It was kind of boring, okay. This was written in the 1840s, 1850s. Sorry, 1831, the Liberator one. The other one was in 1835. So it's written in a different language. What do they make a lot of reference to in this language, though?
I didn't understand that question. It was like, describe the argument with type of terms.
Yeah.
I didn't understand it.
And you know what? I actually had a hard time phrasing that question. Because initially I wanted to put the abolitionists couch their argument in what terms? You guys probably, a couch is something to sit on, right? A couch is also a way to enclose things. So what terms were they using to enclose their arguments? What are you seeing here that they make mention a lot of? Oh, I'm sorry, I heard it. That it's not godly. So it's religious terms, especially in the selection from Mr. May. He ends his arguments basically with,
Bless you.
the devil must preside over the affair of the universe and not God.
So it's on religious terms?
Yes, on religious terms. And on terms of our democratic principles. If you read William Lloyd Garrison's, he talks about Bunker Hill as the birthplace of liberty. He talks about, he quotes the Declaration of Independence.
Democratic what?
The democratic principles. So when abolitionists talk, this is the language that are particularly religious. Harriet Beecher Stowe, who wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin, is writing about religion. Religion and democratic principles. So Harriet Beecher Stowe, who's talking about Uncle Tom being this pious man, she's talking about Uncle Tom and religious principles because most people back then were Christian, were religious, and so this appealed to them. This made sense to them. This is why slave owners didn't want slaves practicing religion, because the Bible talks about freedom, particularly the Old Testament, when it talks about the capture and enslavement of the Jewish people. This was a similar story, and God wants their freedom. People could understand this, and they could get behind the fight for slavery because of this. Is that help? That question? Was there the other one?
No, I got those. Yeah.
Okay.
I had a question on the first line.
Okay.
Questions regarding confessions.
Okay. Confessions regarding the confessions of Nat Turner.
Yeah. Or not the first one, the second. Sorry.
Okay, the second one. We remember names like Nat Turner, but if armed rebellions happened often, we would remember all of the names of their leaders. Such like the World War II. Do we remember the name of every officer in World War II? No, we remember maybe the big ones. But because that's their view. If armed rebellions of slaves were happening all the time, we probably wouldn't remember all their names. Nat Turner's rebellion wasn't successful. So why do we remember him above all the others? Okay, he's one of the few who did something, Mindy.
Oh, that's how it was rare.
Okay, yeah, it was very rare.
But is this the second question? Or
Yes,
the
this
first
is the second question.
They were like most of them were afraid. Plus, like I was saying yesterday, they didn't know no other ways they were scared. It was like out there. They didn't know. They used to get the little bit that they do have. And they're out there. Some wouldn't really know what to do.
Okay, so maybe there was that fear of, okay, well, even if I got my freedom, what am I going to do with it? There's fear of what would happen if it failed and you were caught. What punishment you would have to endure. Are there any other ways to rebel besides armed rebellion? Like refuse to work? Okay. Maybe if there's a hoe that you're supposed to be using, maybe you break it. If you ever go to a restaurant, do you want to tick off the waiter?
No, so spit your food.
Okay? I mean, isn't that kind of a form of rebellion?
Yeah.
So how often do you think just these little rebellions were going on? Maybe they couldn't do anything big because big things would happen to them, but they might get away with doing some small things, right?
No, I think the little things would get them in trouble.
If caught. But little things are easier to hide, right?
Yeah, but
I'm not going to know if you
but
spit in my
you're out
suit.
there- If you're out there working in a field or something and you're supposed to be working and you refuse to work,
Okay, well that's a little bit of a bigger thing, right? But if you're working, if you sawed down the handle of the hoe and you're working and if you put the hoe down hard enough and the hoe breaks, you can say, well, that stick must have been bad, so you don't have to work for a while, right? So you kind of get away with not having to, it's really you refusing to work. You've made it so the hoe would break, right? Stuff like that happened a lot, Gary. Can you go to the restroom? Can you wait a few minutes? We're almost done here.
But